Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today is one of the most innovative and creative guitarists to ever pick up the instrument. You know him from his work with Guns N' Roses, the amazing Sons of Apollo, his brilliant solo career, and much more. He's back now with a new band featuring fellow Sons of Apollo member Derek Sherinian, vocalist Dino Jalusic, Angra drummer Bruno Valverde, and bassist Yaz Nomura. They're called Whom Gods Destroy. Their debut album, Insanium, is out on March 15th. And here to talk about it is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you so much. I see we have a little audience here. Hello. Hey. Ah, good, good, good. Yes. Hmm.
So now the pandemic and its scheduling is one of the things that did end Sons of Apollo. But when did you and Derek decide that you guys wanted to continue and form a new band?
Well, it was right after we quickly got off the road in early 2020. We got in about 4 shows out of 20 of them that we were supposed to do in Europe, and then had to get out of there and get home as the world shut down and everything. So the plan was to start making a third Sons of Apollo album, and Derek and I started writing, and soon after we realized that not everybody was on board to do a third album, and we just kept on writing, and it became this new band. So it was 2020. We started writing. I remember Derek came up with the intro to "In the Name of War," that and I was like, "Oh, interesting." And then I took the idea of it and made like a heavy bum 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 bum, which became the verse, and then Derek's like, "Oh, let's just make it a straight beat on it." Bum 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 bum. Boom, boom, boom. Then it came up with, bum, ba-dum, dum, ba-dum, dum, dum, like just everything, just taking that original theme and making variations of it, and branches of that branch, and it became a song. And then realizing that the band, that Sons of Apollo wasn't going to continue, and started writing over again. And I wrote the lyrics to the chorus and came up with that. I try and I try, but I can never win. You break me and make me start over again. and uh, and then that was our second song. And by that point, started talking to Dino. And then about a year later, Yaz and then Bruno, and it just slowly came together. And we were all connected anyway. Dino and Yaz did music together. I did something with Felipe Andrioli, the bassist of Angra, and Dino, and my own solo drummer, Kyle Hughes, incredible drummer, wonderful guy. So we did something together during the pandemic, and just everybody had some kind of connection. That's how the music world is very few degrees of separation between anybody and everybody. So it just all came together and showed it to the label, and they're like, "This is a little heavier than Sons of
Yeah, a
Apollo."
little
Not what,
bit.
but see, that's what, for me, I always felt like Sons of Apollo could push a little harder, a little further, sweat a little more. You coming down, boy? Got our visitor back. And so with this
So,
band, that was the chance to, there he goes.
mhm, mhm,
That was the chance to do it and to just turn all the intensity knobs up a little bit. Make the heavy stuff heavier, the proggy stuff proggier, just make it more intense. And I think it happened with this album. Also, just the new blood that came in,
yeah,
Bruno and Yaz, that added a different energy than Sons of Apollo had. So two of the ingredients in the bowl are the same, and three new ones, it's not going to be exactly the same. So yeah, I feel like this album, for me, is more what I dig. Just wackier and just more of a pummeling and bombardment and just the intensity.
yeah. Now, when you're in a band like this, You've mentioned how all of you guys kind of have connections already, so there's that familiarity there. But is it difficult at any point to kind of manage the ego in terms of doing what's best for the song?
Well, there is no best. It's just opinion. It's just
Mhm.
that's the thing of everyone feels this is what expresses me, and this is what expresses me, and this is what expresses me, and I always say if you have a band of five people, if you get 20% of what you want, then it's fair.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're getting too much and you're taking away from someone else. So you have to be okay with that, or do a solo album.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you're not, yeah, then you can have 100% and you can do everything you want and call all the shots, and people need to do that
Yeah.
because a band can't be everything for everyone.
Mhm.
And to fill the void, it's good to have other things that can fill it,
Mhm.
rather than trying to push the band to be what you want out of a solo band and have it be 100% of everything you want it to be.
Mhm.
That's when people are going to fight over
Yeah.
creative differences and
Mhm.
stuff because they're all trying to make it what they want it to be and not saying, well, I am just one piece of this. And as long as I'm giving full as that piece, I got to leave room for everyone else, and this has to be theirs too. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So with Sons of Apollo, the music was written by me and Derek. We
Mhm.
would just take ideas and send them to each other back and forth, and it was the same with this. This band came about the same way. It came out of Sons of Apollo.
Mhm.
So if there's a next album, then we would have everyone building it from the ground up, and it would be even more of an expression of Yaz and Dino and Bruno. I mean, even still, Dino, he wrote his stuff.
Mhm.
And it should be that way. A singer should sing what's the words from their own mouth,
Mhm.
not from someone else's mouth. I don't know if everyone agrees with that, but
Mhm.
but for me, that's like it's the preference. If
Yeah.
it can't be that, fine.
Mhm.
There's again, there's some singers that are great performers, but they're not great writers, or they're good at this, but not good at that. And if you ask them to be things they're not, just to fit the idea in your head of what someone should be, that's not going to work either.
Mhm.
So, whatever everyone is good at, if someone is great at performing, but they're just not comfortable with writing, don't try to push them to write because they're just going to be very uncomfortable in the band. So, just let everyone be who they are, is what
And
it
I think that goes kind of back, you were saying how when you approach this record, you were looking to do more, something heavier, amp up the progressive parts of it. And Dino is a vocalist that can really handle kind of anything. And I think his lyrics and his melodies fit in perfect with sort of the sonic shape that you were creating. So does it help having someone who got what it is you were doing and then puts his thing on top?
totally. Uh, Absolutely, yeah. He was a great fit for the sound, but I have to, give props to Soto, to Jeff
Mhm.
Scott
Oh
Soto,
yeah.
because
Mm.
I'm in a band with him too,
Yeah.
and that band is heavier than it used to be,
Yeah.
and Jeff made that fit perfectly,
Mhm.
and he did some heavy singing on that album, on the Out of Anarchy album. So what it comes down to is whatever ingredient you throw into the bowl, that's what it's going to taste
Mhm.
like. Dino is a perfect fit for the music because it is what it is because he's part of it. Same thing with Art of Anarchy.
Mhm.
Jeff is a perfect fit for that because he does what he does in that, and it is what it is because of him.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
it's yeah. When you do it, you know what? It comes down to the same thing. If you're dealing with good people, it's gonna be good.
Yep.
Whatever it ends up sounding like, it's gonna be good. And each person creates a contrast. Like you work together, yet you also contrast because everyone
Mhm.
brings something different. And that's what makes every band fucking great is that you have people that are different that
Mhm.
bring it together. Derek and I musically are different.
Mhm.
I like being very off the wall and like, what the fuck is that?
Mhm.
And he loves Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, and
Mhm.
Rainbow Dio.
Yeah.
Uh, so You put the two together,
It
and
works.
and if you take one away, it's lopsided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we've gotten a few videos from the record already. You mentioned the name of war and over again. And of course, you're playing your trademark double neck with one fretless neck. What does, especially in this kind of music, what does the fretless neck allow you to do that a traditional neck doesn't?
Ah, well, you can drag and slide notes and chords and things, and it just gives it. It's like speaking a different language in a way. On a regular guitar, the stuff just wouldn't sound the same. It just wouldn't have all the dragging, descending, vocal kind of things that happen in there. So the approach is, well, let's talk about the guitar. It's
Sure. Mhm.
fretted on the bottom neck,
Mhm.
and it's drop D tuning, and fretless on the top neck, which is drop B tuning. So it's kind of two different
Mhm.
tunings a little bit. And for a lot of the stuff on the album, what I'm doing is I'm doing riffs on the fretless, a lot of stuff on that low tuned down string, and I'm adding an octave pedal to make it even an octave lower, and just dragging all these low notes around. It just sounds like a very just nasty low voice, just raw, doing this thing. And it's just the sound I imagined for this. Not having exact, precise tones to everything, bum ba dum ba da ba ba bum, boom 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 boom, just those little things in there that happen all throughout, like over again. Boom, 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 like those drags
Yeah.
of things. It just wouldn't work on a fretted instrument. It wouldn't sound right. And it makes you write a different way. It makes you come up with different riffs. It's just a bit of a difference. It's a different language.
Yeah.
So I'm just adding this a little bit of another language to the parts,
Mhm.
and it's fun.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but you've toggled back and forth throughout your career between solo work and working with a band. Is there, other than sort of the control you have over the music, is there a different satisfaction that you get working on a solo record as opposed to the satisfaction you get of collaborating with someone else?
Oh, totally, yeah. And each one gives you one that the other can't give you.
Right.
So in a band, you're getting input ideas that you
Mm,
wouldn't have imagined.
mm,
And it becomes something just more than what you could have done yourself. But at the same time, when you're doing your own thing, you get to get every bit of yourself
mm.
out. And you need to do that.
Yeah.
So so having both, to me, it's just you got to do both.
Mm,
And if you're not doing one, you get the itch for the other,
mm.
because each one gives you something. So the last solo album I did was 2015.
Yeah.
And then that year I also put out first Art of Anarchy album,
Mm,
then started working on the next one and put out the second one in 2017 as we started up with Sons of Apollo and
mhm.
got that album out later that year. 2018, just touring like crazy. 2019, writing the second Sons of Apollo album while I'm working with Asia,
Mm,
and then 2020 getting that album out, and meanwhile in 2019 doing more producing, recorded the first Doty's album, and then got that out in 2021. Put out two acoustic albums in 2020, and started working on Whom Gods Destroy in 2020, as well as more Art of Anarchy stuff, which both of those came out now, and working on a solo album, and put out a second Doty's album in 2022. And this year we'll get out the third Doty's album, which I have to, you're probably wondering who the hell's the Doty's, I have to tell you about that.
Yeah.
So, so this year will be third Art of Anarchy album out,
Mm,
debut Whom Gods Destroy album. My own solo album of crazy instrumental shit is going to come out after I get those two done. I
mhm.
just kind of put my album has been done since June of last year, and I'm just holding off and just slowly getting all the release stuff
Yeah.
ducks in a row. Like, okay, let me get the transcriptions ready for the transcription book and working
Mhm.
on video for the first song and all that stuff while getting these two
Mhm.
albums out. rather than slowing down these bands where other people are waiting on me. So focusing fully on those, and then my album will come out. And the Doties are this incredible duo. It's this garage rock duo that have this incredible musical sense that reminds me of old grunge,
Mhm.
like the more musical Nirvana type stuff, and Radiohead and things like that. Like they're just so musical, but so noisy in a good way. And they do so much, just two dudes. You got a drummer that plays the entire drum set with just one arm while playing bass on a keyboard with his left hand and singing backing vocals. And he grooves and he's solid. The guitar player also sings, and every once in a while, the drummer keeps his extra drumstick on top of his keyboard and will just grab it and play both arms. And in those moments, the guitar player kicks on an octave pedal that runs to a bass amp and becomes both a guitar and bass at once. And they just have this big sound. And I just love this band. So this is the third album that we've recorded together, and I'm just producing, which is really my biggest love. And it's what I want my future to be is producing and teaching.
Mhm. Good.
That's always what I've loved. I want to be off the field. I want to be the coach, and I want to help other people get on the field. That's where I am. I'm too damn old to run around on stage. So even if other people older than me do it, well, God bless them. But I'm
Yeah,
too damn old.
you've mentioned Art of Anarchy a couple of times. You guys had that brand new record out again with Jeff Scott Soto on vocals now. It's been 7 years since the last record, and you just mentioned all the stuff you've done in between. What stuck around with that project that made you want to go back to it now with Jeff?
Well, Jeff, it's it had a very turbulent history, this band, horribly, and just making the same mistakes twice.
Mhm.
And so during the pandemic, the twin brothers
Mhm.
that started the band, and they're old friends of mine for like over 25 years. And the band, it didn't even start as a band. It started off where they just wanted to make their dream album. And I used to record all their bands when they were younger and everything. So they would come to my studio. This is in 2011. And we would record. And it was just, I was their producer. And I'll throw some extra guitar on there. And the idea was to have different singers all sing different songs and just have the album of their music with all their favorite singers on it. And the first one to lay something down was Scott Weiland. And then his manager said to us, let's make this a band. We want to make this a band. And Scott will do the whole album and we'll promote it and we'll, do everything. And this will be a band. So they're not going to say no to Scott Weiland. Yeah, he wants to make a band with them. They're like, hell yeah. And became a band at that point. So like, all right, they wanted me to be in it. I was like, all right, I'll be in. And we asked John Moyer on bass. He's like, sure, I'll do it. Sounds like fun. So now it's this band with, a member of Guns N' Roses, Scott
Yeah.
Weiland, a member of Disturbed.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's how it became a band. And
Mhm.
then once we were putting it out, Scott Weiland just pulled the rug out and surprised us and said, oh, I wish him luck finding a new singer. It's like, what the fuck? And yeah, so that obviously didn't work out. So then on to singer number two, just so I don't have to go back into therapy, I'm going to gloss over that.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, the brothers, the Voter brothers that founded their band, their vision, I'm a supportive friend and help them with their vision. And they had a bunch of songs that they were writing and working on. So every Friday, they would come over and we would record a song. And we did that throughout the pandemic and it had like 2 albums worth of music.
Mhm.
And while that was going on and Sons of Apollo was not looking good, like it was going to continue, Jeff said to me, Soto, said, you should have just had me sing in the band from the beginning. You would have saved yourself a lot of grief. I was like, I know, you're right. Yeah. And I mentioned it to the brothers and they said, well, if he wants in, he's in. You want it in? So he was in. He started writing to the
Mhm.
music, and here we are.
Mhm.
So Sons of Apollo split off into having Art of Anarchy with Jeff and Whom Gods Destroy with Derek. Split into two bands.
Mhm. And what do you see as the future for Whom Gods Destroy? Are you guys looking to tour? Are you looking to continue recording? Or is it just kind of whatever happens, happens?
The goal with every band is to keep making music and to get out and play. That's pretty much why you do it.
Mhm.
You know, you don't make a band so it can break up and
Yeah.
see it through, but someone always fucks it up. So, yeah, it's hard to keep a marriage of a bunch of unemployable nut jobs together. But anyway, so
Mhm.
yes. So hopefully, I'll just say hopefully, what I'd like to see happen is, we get out there and just do what a band does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all you can ask for.
We make, yep, we make plans and God laughs. I'll
Yeah.
say we make plans and God's destroy.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've been spending some time here with Ron Bumblefoot Thal. The band is called Whom Gods Destroy. The record is Insanium. It's out everywhere March 15th. It is a great record. It's heavy, it's proggy, I was just listening to it again this morning before we talked. I love the record. Ron, it's been a pleasure finally getting you on the show here to talk, and I hope we can do it again soon.
my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully I'll see you somewhere in Connecticut when the snow melts.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Take care.